Welcome to the 0 to 60 podcast. I'm your host and local gearhead, Mark Arson. In episode 56 of the series and third podcast of season 6, I'm going to give you 5 things you need to know about Ford's all-new compact adventure vehicle. The 2021 Bronco Sport is next.
LeithCars.com 0 to 60 with automotive journalist and radio host Mark Arson.
Now, unless you've been hiding under a rock, you've probably heard about the return of the iconic Ford Bronco, which is going to be coming to Leith Ford in Wendell this summer. But you might not be familiar with Ford's newest adventure vehicle, which they released back in December, that you could sort of call the Bronco's little brother. It's the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport. Now, first up, I want to thank Ro Allen at Leith Ford for being my tech advisor for this episode of 0 to 60, as Ro was able to show me the various off-road and tech features of the Bronco Sport so I could bring you the most accurate podcast possible. So thanks, Ro. Now, here are 5 things you need to know about Ford's most capable small SUV. Number 1. The Bronco Sport is an all-new, compact-size utility vehicle that gives you a great way to get out and do some light off-roading without feeling like you're driving a larger, big, truck-like 4x4. Now, the Bronco Sport is going to drive more like a car, smooth and stable on paved roads, and I mean, that's where you're going to be spending 95% of your time or more anyway. But when you do venture on a trail to go camping to, say, Chimney Rock or maybe down to the coast of Fort Fisher, the Bronco Sport, with its standard 4x4 capability, is going to get you through most any kind of rough off-road terrain that you might ever want to take it down. The 4x4 system in the Bronco Sport will deliver power to all 4 wheels for additional traction and less wheel slippage. Number 2, to get you where you need or want to go off-road, Ford has installed what they call GOAT modes in the new Bronco Sport. GOAT, as in G-O-A-T, stands for goes over any type of terrain. Now, GOAT modes are accessed by a large round dial in the center console. You get 5 GOAT modes in the first 3 Bronco Sport trim levels. That's the base, Big Bend, and Outer Banks, which you can see in the video version of our podcast on the LeithCars.com YouTube channel. Now, the most capable trim level with the Bronco Sport is called the Badlands model, which has 7 GOAT modes. Now, those GOAT modes allow you to select from Sport, Economy, Normal, Slippery, Sand, Mud Ruts, and Rock Crawl. And those last 2, the Mud Ruts and Rock Crawl, are the extra 2 modes that you get in the Badlands trim level. Now, I've already tested the Bronco Sport Sand mode, as I did a little moderate off-road trail driving, and the GOAT system got me through shallow, little muddy parts of the trails and sandy soil just fine. Now, number 3 in our 5 things you need to know about the new Ford Bronco Sport is that every Bronco Sport has an off-road suspension system called HOSS, H-O-S-S. Now, HOSS stands for High Performance Off-Road Stability Suspension System, which allows you to take on a bit more aggressive terrain than you'd be able to in a typical compact SUV. Now, the HOSS system features special front struts and rear shocks to give you a quieter, more comfortable off-road experience, plus a little bit softer springs and anti-roll bars, and those are going to allow for more wheel and suspension articulation if you're driving over trail obstacles like small rocks or maybe ruts in the trail. Number 4, the new Bronco Sport has what Ford calls a safari-style roof, which is pretty cool. I mean, basically, the styling of the Ford Bronco kind of harkens back to SUVs of, say, the 90s or early 2000s. It's more of that boxy, upright, vertical styling. So with the safari-style roof, there's a slightly raised bump up in the roof line, kind of at the midpoint above the rear passenger door. Now, it not only is going to give your back seat riders more headroom, it also allows for more room for your gear. In fact, I'm an avid bike rider on the weekend, and I can tell you that there is enough room in the rear of the new Bronco Sport, with the rear seats folded, of course, to hold 2 adult mountain bikes standing straight up. So to me, that's pretty impressive. In addition to that, the cargo rack on the Bronco Sport, once you fit it with the optional crossbars, is strong enough to hold 150 pounds of cargo when you're driving. Now, what that means is that if you're up for a little overlanding in your Bronco Sport, you can go for it. You can get one of those vehicle-designed camping tents and mount it up there on your roof rack. And, then it's going to support the weight of not only the tent when you're driving down the road to your destination or the trail, but it's going to support the weight of 2 adults in that tent when you're parked at your campsite. And finally, number 5 in my 5 things you need to know about the new Bronco Sport, I'm actually going to mention several off-road adventure features that together can add up to one great experience. Now, if you ever want or need to cross a shallow stream in your trail travels, the Bronco Sport gives you up to 23.6 inches of water fording capability with available off-road tires. Now, I've yet to be brave enough to do that myself, but it's good to know that your Bronco Sport is capable of doing that and crossing some shallow streams or creek beds if you so choose. You'll also find a really cool 2-piece tailgate where you can lift up the back glass separately, or you can lift up the entire tailgate as one single unit. But in the Bronco Sport, it has a couple of articulating floodlights built into the tailgate. So when it's lifted straight up, it's going to give you a really nice lit area for, your camping or your tailgate parties or whatever you got going on. And you can move these lights around. Really, really nice feature to have. And on trim levels like the Outer Banks edition that I tested from Leith Ford, you'll find a very handy MOLLE cargo strap system that's sewn in on the back of the front seats. Now, MOLLE, M-O-L-L-E, stands for Modular Lightweight Load Carrying Equipment. It's kind of like these little canvas loops that are sewn one next to the other on the back of the seat. And the MOLLE system actually was designed for the British military decades ago. The MOLLE strap system in the Bronco Sport is a great way to fasten your smaller camping gear like flashlights, ropes, small hand tools. Plus, there's a very handy zippable storage pocket right above the MOLLE that's built into the back of the seat. So as you've heard in this podcast or seen in our short YouTube video, the new Bronco Sport is definitely worth a look and a test drive. You can learn more about the Bronco Sport and the entire Ford line, including used trucks, cars, and SUVs at LeithFord.com. I'm Mark Arson. Thank you for listening to the 0 to 60 podcast. It's a monthly series bringing you news around the Leith Automotive Group and the world of motorsports in the Carolinas and Virginia. Now be sure to follow us on social at LeithCars and visit our website, LeithCars.com.
0 to 60 is a production of LeithCars.com. Like us on Facebook at LeithCars.
The copyright in this podcast and its contents belongs to Leith Incorporated.